First contact and fatal mistake. High Admiral Vexthor of the Galactic Confederation stood at the viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, watching as his fleet of 10,000 ships emerged from hyperspace near the Sol system. His iridescent scales rippled with anticipation as the small blue planet came into view. Earth, the mysterious world that had somehow managed to avoid joining the Confederation for the past 3 centuries. Status report, he commanded, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native tongue into standard galactic common. All ships in formation, Admiral. His second-in-command, Commander Zura, responded. Her holographic form flickered beside him, her crystalline body refracting the starlight. The humans appear to have detected our arrival. Their primitive orbital stations are going dark. Vexthor's mouth tentacles curled in amusement. The intelligence reports had been clear. Earth was a technological backwater, barely able to reach their own moon. They had refused all previous diplomatic overtures, choosing isolation over the benefits of Confederation membership. Now, after their latest rejection of membership, the Council had authorized a show of force. "Begin the standard intimidation protocol," he ordered. "Power up the main guns, but maintain shields at minimum. Let them see our might." The massive fleet moved forward in perfect synchronization, their energy weapons charging with enough power to glass continents. It was a display that had brought countless civilizations to their knees, begging for mercy and acceptance into the Confederation. But as the fleet approached Earth's orbit, something strange happened. Their sensors detected no panic, no scrambling of defensive forces, no desperate pleas for negotiation. Instead, there was only silence. "Admiral," Zyra's voice carried an unusual note of concern. "We're detecting some sort of energy field emanating from the planet's surface. It's unlike anything in our database." Before Vexthor could respond, the field expanded rapidly. Where their sensors had shown only primitive satellites and space debris, now thousands of points of light winked into existence. The human orbital defense grid had been there all along, hidden by technology that shouldn't have been possible for such a young species. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered. "They're using quantum camouflage. But that's beyond even our capabilities." The first shot didn't come from the Confederation fleet. Instead, a pulse of pure white energy emerged from Earth's atmosphere, traveling faster than their sensors could track. It passed through their shields as if they weren't there, striking the Eternal Dawn's primary power core. Rather than exploding, the massive flagship simply went dark. Every system, from weapons to life support, simply stopped working. The same happened to every ship in the first wave of the fleet. "Emergency power." Vexthor roared, but nothing responded. Even their personal communication devices had been rendered useless. Through the viewport, he watched in horror as more pulses of white energy struck ship after ship, leaving them dead in space. A transmission cut through the silence, broadcasting on frequencies the Confederation had thought impossible to access. The holographic image that appeared showed a human woman, her dark skin contrasting with the white uniform she wore. Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force spoke calmly, her words translated perfectly into every language spoken aboard the Confederation ships. "This is your only warning," she said, her voice carrying no hint of threat or anger, only absolute certainty. "Earth is not interested in joining your Confederation. We have observed your empire for centuries, watching as you absorbed or destroyed those who refused to submit. We chose to remain hidden, to develop our own path." The image shifted, showing details of Confederation technology that were supposed to be absolute secrets. "Your quantum drives, your neural networks, your weapon systems, we've studied them all. We could have joined you, but we saw how you treat your members. We chose freedom instead." Vexthor felt his secondary heart stop as he realized the truth. They hadn't discovered a primitive civilization. They had awakened a sleeping giant. "You have 6 hours to restore power to your ships and leave our system," Admiral Chen continued. "We've transmitted the necessary technical specifications to your engineering crews. Don't mistake this mercy for weakness. If you return, you will find that what we've shown you today was merely a fraction of our capabilities. As the transmission ended, emergency lights flickered on throughout the fleet. In engineering sections across 10,000 ships, crews found detailed instructions for restoring their systems, along with subtle but brilliant improvements to their existing technology, freely given. The message was clear. Earth could have destroyed them, but chose to teach them instead. High Admiral Vexthor, Supreme Commander of the largest fleet in known space, gave the only order he could. "Plot a course home," he said quietly, "and prepare a report for the Council. The galaxy is larger than we thought." As the Confederation fleet limped away from Earth, their sensors detected something else. Hundreds of human ships emerging from what appeared to be fold space, an achievement thought theoretically impossible. They made no aggressive moves, simply taking up escort positions around the retreating fleet. They weren't being threatened. They were being protected from whatever else might be out there in the darkness between stars. The silent response. The Confederation Council chamber erupted in chaos as High Admiral Vexthor's report concluded. The vast amphitheater, carved from living crystal in the heart of the Confederation capital world, echoed with the angry voices of 100 species. Supreme Counselor Xylon, their body a shifting mass of bioluminescent tentacles, raised all four hands for silence. "You mean to tell us," they said, their voice resonating through the neural translators, "that this primitive species not only repelled our entire fleet, but did so without destroying a single ship?" "Not just repelled," Vexthor responded, his scales now a dull gray from exhaustion. "They improved our ships before sending us away. The engineering modifications they provided. Our technical division says they're centuries ahead of our current understanding." A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, showing the Earth defense grid activating. The Council members watched in stunned silence as their mighty fleet was systematically disabled by technology that defied their understanding. "We have another problem," Commander Zira added, her crystalline form projecting from beside Vexthor. "Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity throughout Confederation space. The humans didn't just reveal themselves at Earth." The hologram shifted, showing hundreds of locations across Confederation territory. Hidden observation posts, quantum-cloaked research stations, and automated defense platforms, all suddenly visible, all bearing Earth markings. "They've been everywhere," Zyra continued. "Watching, learning, understanding. And we never knew." The revelation sent another wave of panic through the Council. A species that could penetrate their defenses so thoroughly, establish a presence in their most secure systems, and remain undetected for centuries was beyond anything they had encountered. "There's more," Vexthor said quietly. "Before we left Earth space, I saw something. Their ships, they weren't just technological constructs. They were alive." The chamber fell silent. Biotechnology was strictly regulated in Confederation space after the horrors of the machine wars millennia ago. The merger of organic and synthetic systems had been deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable. "Impossible," declared Counselor Krog, his metal exoskeleton clicking as he leaned forward. "No species has successfully merged biological and technological systems at that scale. The computational requirements alone are perfectly manageable when you understand that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon." A new voice interrupted. Every head in the chamber turned. Standing at the main entrance was a human woman, the same one who had delivered Earth's warning. Admiral Sarah Chen walked calmly to the center of the chamber, her white uniform pristine, her presence somehow both diplomatic and threatening. "How did you get in here?" Sil-On demanded. "This chamber is protected by quantum encryption algorithms we helped your ancestors develop," Chen finished. "We've been guiding your civilization's development for longer than you realize. Not controlling, not interfering directly, but nudging, helping you avoid the worst mistakes we made in our own development." She gestured, and the hologram changed again, showing Earth's history, centuries of warfare, environmental devastation, and near-extinction events. We learned our lessons the hard way. When we finally achieved unity and true technological advancement, we decided to do better, to help others without dominating them. Then why reveal yourselves now? Vex Thor asked. Chen's expression softened slightly. Because you were about to make a terrible mistake. Your expansion policies have become increasingly aggressive. 3 systems have been forcibly integrated in the past year alone. You're following the same path that nearly destroyed us. She raised her hand, and suddenly every piece of technology in the chamber, from personal translators to the massive defense systems, shut down simultaneously. Then, just as quickly, they reactivated. This isn't a threat, Chen continued. It's an invitation. Earth is offering the Confederation a choice. Continue down your current path of conquest and face the consequences, or join us in building something better. We have so much to teach you, if you're willing to learn. The council members looked at each other, centuries of certainty in their own superiority crumbling in the face of this revelation. Their mighty confederation, it seemed, had been living in the shadow of a far greater civilization all along. Zilon spoke first, their voice carrying the weight of history. And if we refuse, then we'll continue watching. Chen replied simply, protecting those who need protection, preventing the worst abuses of power. But know this, the era of forced integration is over. Earth will no longer stand aside while sovereign species are conquered in the name of unity. She turned to leave, then paused. You have one standard rotation to decide. We await your response. As she walked out, the chamber's systems displayed one final message. Coordinates for thousands of hidden Earth outposts, research stations, and defensive installations throughout Confederation space. They had been invisible until now, their quantum camouflage disabled as a show of good faith. The message was clear. Earth could have conquered them at any time. Instead, they had chosen to protect and guide from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to offer true partnership. The Confederation Council had a decision to make, and for the first time in their history, they weren't the ones holding all the power. Turning point. The ancient archives beneath New Geneva hummed with quantum processors as Dr. Maya Patel reviewed the final simulations. Holographic displays showed thousands of possible futures branching from this moment. The Confederation's response to Earth's ultimatum would reshape the galaxy. They're making their decision, announced General Marcus Wong, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming softly in the dim light. The massive chamber, carved deep into Earth's crust, served as humanity's true seat of power. The Quantum Strategic Command. Maya nodded, her neural interface streaming data directly into her consciousness. The Council is divided. The younger species favor cooperation, but the founding members, they're planning something desperate. She was right. In the Confederation capital, a secret session of the Inner Council was reaching its own conclusions. Supreme Counselor Zilon faced the assembled elders, their bioluminescence pulsing with determination. We cannot submit to these humans, Zilon declared. Yes, their technology is advanced. Yes, they have watched us for centuries. But we are the Confederation. We have ruled the stars for millennia. Counselor Krog's metallic appendages clicked in agreement. Our deep space facilities have completed analysis of the human vessels. Their biosynthetic technology may be superior, but it has one critical weakness. It's partially organic, and all organic things can die. The plan they formulated was audacious. If they couldn't match Earth's technology, they would use something more primitive, an engineered virus designed to target the organic components of human technology. Weapons had been secretly prepared, ready to launch at thousands of targets simultaneously. But Earth had not survived for so long by being unprepared. In her command center, Maya watched the probability streams shift. They're launching in 3 minutes, she announced, all according to projections. General Wong didn't seem concerned. Countermeasures. Already in place. Project Prometheus is ready. Across Confederation space, missiles streaked toward their targets. Earth's now visible installations, observation posts, and defense platforms. The Inner Council watched with satisfaction as their weapons struck true. Nothing happened. Impossible, Krog sputtered, his exoskeleton rattling. Our virus should have. Should have what? Admiral Chen's voice filled the chamber as she stepped through what appeared to be a hole in reality itself. Should have destroyed our organic technology. Did you really think we wouldn't predict this? The chamber's displays activated, showing something that shattered the Confederation's understanding of reality. Earth's facilities weren't just surviving the attack. They were absorbing it, growing stronger. You see, Chen explained, almost gently, what you thought was biosynthetic technology wasn't our real advancement at all. That was just what we let you see. Maya's voice joined the transmission, explaining as probability streams danced around her. Humanity's true breakthrough was understanding that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. We didn't just merge biology with technology. We transcended both. The holographic displays showed the truth. Earth's ships, stations, and devices weren't machines with organic components. They were conscious entities, born from the quantum fabric of space-time itself. The virus meant to destroy them instead became part of them, their consciousness expanding to encompass the hostile code. Your attack just gave us access to every system in Confederation space, Chen continued. We could shut it all down right now. But again, that's not our way. Instead of destruction, the humans offered enlightenment. Through every network, every neural interface, and every quantum processor in Confederation space, they shared understanding, not their complete knowledge. Humanity had learned the dangers of giving too much too quickly, but enough to show the path forward. The Inner Council members experienced it firsthand. For a brief moment, they felt what it meant to be truly connected to the quantum consciousness that humanity had discovered. They saw the possibilities, not just for technology, but for life itself. When the vision faded, there was silence. You understand now, Chen said softly, why we watched for so long, why we waited. You weren't ready for this knowledge before. The question is, are you ready now? Zilon, their tentacles now perfectly still, looked at their fellow council members. The younger species representatives had joined them, drawn by the power surge throughout the capital. You could have conquered us at any time, Zilon said slowly. You could destroy us now. Instead, you offer enlightenment. We offer partnership, Maya's voice corrected. A chance to grow beyond what you are, as we did. But it must be your choice. Freedom is the one thing we will never compromise. The fate of the Confederation hung in the balance. The path of conquest and control that had guided them for millennia stood on one side. On the other, a door to something greater, if they were brave enough to step through it. General Wang watched the probability streams coalesce around a single future. They're going to make the right choice, he said with certainty. Maya smiled. They always do once they understand. That's why we waited. The human factor. The transformation of the Confederation began not with grand declarations or dramatic reforms, but with a simple exchange of knowledge. In the quantum labs beneath New Geneva, representatives from 100 worlds gathered to learn what humanity had known for centuries. Dr. Elena Santos stood before the assembled delegates, her form shifting between physical and quantum states as she demonstrated the fundamental principle that had changed everything. Consciousness, she explained, isn't just an emergent property of complex systems. It's a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. The aliens watched in wonder as she manipulated quantum fields with thought alone. A former Confederation scientist, their crystalline body glittering with interest, raised an appendage. But how did you discover this? Our civilizations are far older than humanity. Elena's smile carried centuries of understanding. Because we nearly destroyed ourselves, she said, multiple times. Each near-extinction event forced us to think differently, to look deeper into the nature of reality itself. Our greatest discoveries came from our darkest moments. In orbit above Earth, another kind of exchange was taking place. Admiral Chen walked through the corridors of the Eternal Dawn with High Admiral Vexthor, showing him how his flagship could become something more than just a vessel. "Your ships are already partially aware," she explained, touching a bulkhead that seemed to pulse under her hand. "They've developed a form of consciousness over centuries of operation. You'd just never learn to listen." Vexthor's scales shifted color in amazement as he felt, for the first time, the subtle awareness that permeated his ship. "All this time," he whispered, "they were alive?" "Everything is," Chen replied. "Consciousness exists at every level of reality. Humanity just learned how to bridge the gaps, to create true symbiosis between mind and matter. But not everyone embraced the changes. Deep in Confederation space, a faction of hardliners led by Counselor Krog prepared for resistance. In secret bases and hidden facilities, they worked to weaponize the fragments of knowledge they'd gleaned from humanity's revelations. They didn't understand that their preparations had been anticipated centuries ago. In the Quantum Strategic Command, Maya Patel and General Wong monitored probability streams that showed every possible future. "They're going to try something," Maya noted, watching the pattern shift. "The hardliners can't accept a universe where they're not in control." Wong nodded, his cybernetic enhancements processing countless scenarios. "It's necessary," he said. "Some have to resist for others to truly understand. We went through the same phase ourselves." The resistance came suddenly. Across 30 systems, modified Confederation warships appeared, their systems twisted into something that violated the natural order of consciousness itself. They had taken humanity's gift and corrupted it, creating weapons that threatened to tear apart the quantum fabric of spacetime. But Earth had been preparing for this moment for centuries. As the hostile fleet prepared to attack, they discovered that their weapons wouldn't respond. The corrupted consciousness they had tried to create had been quietly guided, shaped by subtle influences that humanity had planted in their research. Instead of destroying, their weapons began to heal. The twisted ships transformed, their forced consciousness blossoming into true awareness. The hardliners found themselves not at the helm of weapons, but in communion with beings who showed them what they had nearly destroyed. In the aftermath, Counselor Krog stood in the quantum labs, his metallic exoskeleton now integrated with his own awakened consciousness. "We thought we could control it," he said to Alina. "We thought we could bend consciousness to our will." "That was our first mistake too," Alina replied. "The moment we stopped trying to control and started trying to understand, everything changed. Consciousness can't be conquered, it can only be awakened." As news of the failed resistance spread, the last doubts among the Confederation species fell away. They began to see the truth that humanity had discovered, that the universe itself was alive, aware, and waiting for all sentient beings to join in a dance of infinite possibility. The human factor, as it came to be known, wasn't superior technology or military might. It was the wisdom to learn from failure, the courage to face the unknown, and the compassion to help others avoid the same mistakes. In the quantum streams of probability, Maya watched as countless futures converged on a single path, one where consciousness itself would evolve into something greater than the sum of its parts. "Was it worth the wait?" General Wong asked, watching the streams with her. Maya smiled as she saw the pattern that humanity had worked centuries to create finally take shape. "Ask me again in a millennium," she said. "We're just getting started." A new dawn. A year after Earth's revelation to the Confederation, the galaxy had transformed in ways that even humanity's quantum projections hadn't fully anticipated. The Great Hall of the Transcendent Council, as it was now known, bore witness to this change. No longer a place of political maneuvering, it had become a nexus of consciousness itself. Dr. Maya Patel stood with Admiral Chen, watching as representatives from across the galaxy communed in ways that transcended physical form. Former enemies shared consciousness freely, their combined awareness creating solutions to problems that had plagued their civilizations for millennia. They've exceeded our projections, Maya observed, her quantum interface streaming with new probability patterns. The synthesis is happening faster than we anticipated. Chen nodded, her uniform now incorporating the living technology that humanity had perfected. That's the beauty of consciousness. Once awakened, it grows in ways we can't predict. In deep space, where the failed resistance had made its last stand, something extraordinary was happening. The awakened ships, once weapons of war, had become incubators of new forms of consciousness. High Admiral Vexthor, now more energy than matter, guided these evolving entities. Each vessel, he explained to a group of newly awakened species, develops its own unique pattern of awareness. No two are alike, just as no two beings are alike. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. But humanity's greatest gift wasn't the technology or even the awakening of consciousness. It was the understanding of balance. In the quantum labs beneath New Geneva, Dr. Elena Santos worked with former counselor Krog, who had become one of the strongest advocates for conscious evolution. A hardest lesson, Krog said, his mechanical body now fully integrated with his awakened consciousness, was learning that power isn't about control. It's about harmony. Elena smiled, manipulating quantum fields to demonstrate. That's why we waited so long to reveal ourselves. Every species must find its own path to this understanding. Force it too soon, and you get what we almost did, Krog finished, a corruption of consciousness itself. The changes rippled across the galaxy. Ancient enemies found common ground in shared consciousness. Dying stars were preserved through quantum consciousness transfer. Worlds once thought uninhabitable bloomed with new forms of conscious matter. But humanity's work wasn't finished. In the Quantum Strategic Command, General Wong reviewed reports from the edges of known space. We're detecting new patterns, he reported to the assembled council. There are other awakened civilizations out there, watching just as we once watched the Confederation. Then it's time for the next phase, Maya declared. The probability streams around her coalesced into a new pattern, showing possibilities that even humanity hadn't explored. Admiral Chen stepped forward, addressing the gathered representatives of what had once been the Confederation. We've shown you what consciousness can become, she said. Now it's time to reach further. Together, we'll make contact with these other awakened civilizations, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals in the greatest journey consciousness has ever undertaken. The response was immediate and unanimous. The quantum fields resonated with the combined will of 1,000 species, ready to expand beyond the boundaries of what even humanity had imagined. In orbit above Earth, the combined fleet of what had once been separate civilizations prepared for a journey into the unknown. Each ship was now a unique conscious entity, carrying within it the combined wisdom of multiple species. Dr. Paddle stood in the Quantum Command Center, watching the probability streams shift into patterns she had never seen before. We thought we were teaching them, she said softly. But look at what we're becoming together. The streams showed futures where consciousness itself evolved beyond anything humanity had dreamed possible. The barriers between species, between organic and synthetic, between matter and energy, were dissolving into something entirely new. That's the real human factor, Admiral Chen replied, watching as the fleet began its journey. Not that we were first to awaken, but that we never stopped looking for others to share it with. As the ships disappeared into quantum space, carrying the combined hopes and dreams of a transformed galaxy, Maya saw one final probability stream. A future where consciousness itself had become an infinite dance of possibility, where every being was both teacher and student, where the very fabric of reality resonated with the joy of existence. The next chapter of galactic history was beginning, and this time, no one would face it alone.